want you to go to the Tom Kelly Show. I want you all to know about the Tom Kelly Show.
Trigger warning, spoiler alert, set phasers for stun. You're listening to the Tom Kelly Show, episode 159. I actually got very excited for a second. I thought this was episode 160, but I just looked at podcast.tomkellyshow.com, your safety source if your podcast app isn't working. And yeah, looks like no. We're at 159. So much for the anniversary music, people. I got a comment from a friend who is in a successful radio broadcaster who said, "Wow, Tom, you're dressing up for a podcast." Well, today I'm not. Today I am dressed like a man who looks like he just took out the trash, which is funny because I did just take out the recycling. So I have a great episode in the can with Dean Obadala, a serious radio host with whom I started in my earliest days of comedy and worked with as an NBC page. Long story short, messed up the buttons on the podcast for recording video on him. Editing his episodes is going to take a little bit of an effort. And then I was supposed to record 2 episodes earlier today. Bad news, slightly less than bad news, I think is the way to put it, because I got a job I didn't want. A friend of mine is taking care of his health at a TV show, so I got a last-minute call to go sub in for this particular friend. Again, I'm keeping the show intentionally kind of light and fun. You guys know, if you've been following the last few days, again, part of the podcast has been let's ask Big and see what happens. We asked Big for Jennifer Garner to be on the podcast, and folks, breaking news, still haven't heard from her. Though while at the drugstore today, I saw on People magazine, by the way, who is arranging the damn magazines in the Walgreens in New York City, where they put the People magazine with J-Lo on the cover next to the Us Weekly with Jennifer Garner on the cover, right next to each other. And the caption on the one with Jennifer Garner on the cover was, "Jen and Jen are racing to the altar for their second chance at marriage." And apparently Jennifer Garner is dating a billionaire. And when I started having you guys all tweet Jennifer Garner, I did not know there was a billionaire on the table. Now, and I guess this podcast is getting into that. By the way, everything at CVS, everything at the drugstores in New York City, every single item has a plastic guard on it. You now need a personal shopper to escort you around the drugstore because the shoplifting in New York City is so out of control. They're locking up toothbrushes and deodorants. They're even locking up the $5 things. You know, you need someone to key you in for every darn little thing, including my foot lotion, which, yes, people, I'm using on my feet. Don't send me any dirty jokes. But I guess today's show is about hubris. And what can you ask for? And yeah, so Jennifer Garner. By no means did I think I could actually date her, but yeah, I did. I still do. There is that little fantasy of you guys all tweet her to get her on the podcast. And then she comes on the podcast and falls in love with Tom Kelly. You know what? Crazier things have happened. I know a guy who worked at Conan O'Brien, wound up marrying Lisa Loeb, who was a singer, for you young kids wondering what the hell a Lisa Loeb is. But why not Tom Kelly? Why not? You know, why not me? And you get into, what are you thinking? You know, I have had the hubris to ask out. I did ask out one woman, and this is kind of like the thin line between being delusional and confident. I did ask out a girl once who did date a billionaire. I knew who the billionaire was. I was actually a fan of the billionaire. That's what kept me in touch with the girl. And then one day the girl broke up with the billionaire. And I said, hey, why not ask the girl out? Hey, I've just lost 2/3 of my income in the middle of a pandemic, but I got a big heart, just like a billionaire. And yeah, I don't know much about the man who is dating her now, but but anyway, Tom Kelly, I'll say this. I was hotter than the billionaire. The billionaire looked like if Jesus never showered. If Jesus didn't even wash feet, that's what the man looked like. So, along the lines of confidence and thinking about what success is, our friend Mark Epstein sends an email. Hey, Tom, listening to the show this morning. I like the line in the intro, fixing up my life so you don't have to. You make me think about my life listening to a show about yours. I think my life is where I want it to be, but not all where I expected it to be. Took me a long time to curate the life I'm living now. Is it perfect? Hell no. But it might be as close as it will get. Now, the goal is to continue to refine it, smooth out the rough edges and such. Compared to you, I've taken the easy road to contentment. Having a 9-to-5 might seem boring to some, but being part of a larger machine, having a purpose beyond my own fulfillment helps. I have people and a business process that depends on me. Some days I'm just a neck down doing the work. Other days I get to be creative and make this little corner of the world better. That's all. Thanks for the shout outs. Love, Mark. He didn't say love. I added the love. I'm sure he loves me. And yeah, I had that talk, Mark, with my father yesterday. And the talk was about, am I deluded? Let's face it, wanting to be a successful comedian, wanting to host your own TV show isn't that much less delusional than saying I'm good enough to date Jennifer Garner or the model / medical student who was dating a billionaire. And again, if you guys could see what I look like right now, I may not be as cocky as I have been when I've asked this stuff, but for real, there's a little bit in me that thinks I'm a good enough person. I'm funny enough. I got a pep in my step that says I could host my own TV show, that I could be the man who succeeds Ben Affleck dating and charming Jennifer Garner. Again, I do feel like I belong in her Instagram posts and would make a great farmhand, but you get what I'm saying? Or that I could be the guy dating a doctor who also used to date a billionaire, not a millionaire. Lots of millionaires, billionaire. And I don't know if you can think yourself to success. We talk about the secret. We talk about the power of positivity. I don't know if you can think yourself to success, but I do know you can worry yourself into a disaster. I have a friend right now who is sick. I'm afraid he's getting so worked up about being sick, he's making himself sicker. And I do think you can worry yourself into things. You can worry yourself into financial ruin. You can worry yourself, or talk about me, you can worry yourself into not getting laid, or not getting laid is such a dated term, but not dating the girl, or getting yourself fired from a job. Like if you hate your job and you keep talking about how much you hate your job, and how everybody at work is an a-hole, you may say the wrong thing, or, gosh, I'm the king of committing scorched earth policy after really charming somebody. I know a woman at one of my old jobs. She was so convinced that everybody at work hated her. She kept talking about how everybody at work hated her. And people actually liked her, but she kept going, everybody hates me. Everybody hates me. And she kept talking about how everybody hated her so much. I started to hate her. The trick to stopping that downward spiral is to be aware of it. And the hard part, Mark, about being content is I think you took, my friend Mark, who runs a bike store, the man has biked across the country. He's athletic and he also supported a family. He took a lot of other different leaps. My Dr. Cheryl's advice for the week was be of service. And I'm trying to be of service to the audience. I'm exhausted, but you know what? Enough of you guys, Brett and Jacob and who else has been writing me? Diane and Bridget has been writing me a lot. And then who else? A lot of people have been writing me and I'm like, you know what? If these people are taking time to look me up every day, I'm going to be of service to them. So the hard part about dreams and leaps, and I'm going to combine this with the lesson of controlling your thoughts and keeping yourself from spiraling, is leaps don't always pay off. I took some leaps with my career, leaving The View to go to Good Morning America, performing around the country. I don't know if I've taken a huge leap a lot lately. I've always gone for what's safe. And what's safe pays a lot. I do have a price for selling out my dreams. And I was kind of getting close there when I was working a lot of little jobs. You guys remember last year, the Volvo, my treasured car for life, died on the side of the LIE for 20 minutes on a 95-degree day. And that was the standard. The handshake I had with my father was, if the car ever made me scared in a scary spot, I would get a new car. So I took a big chunk of my money and bought the Jeep Wrangler that I'm driving right now. And the reason I justified the expensive cost to drive the nice fancy car was I don't want to break down in a scary spot. 2 weeks after that big investment, I was not renewed for a TV show I was working at. And suddenly you're sitting there and you're like, geez, all the times my grandparents have said, keep your money in the back, don't buy nice things because you may need the money one day, suddenly happened. And then this weekend, remember, I'm used to driving cars made in the 1900s with no computer technology whatsoever. The 2018 Jeep has what they call the auto start stop. And what happens is you'll be at a red light and the engine will turn off for a few seconds and then turn back on. And speeding through the story, I'm on a narrow one-lane street on 123rd Street in East Harlem, which is not as rough as it used to be, nor is it as nice as it was at certain points either. When you're reading about shootings in New York City, there's some happening around there, whatever. 18-degree day, no way to pull around me on either side on this one-way street. And then the car seizes, stalls, and won't restart. And for 15, 20 minutes, I kept pressing the start button and it just wouldn't go. Big ending is I popped the hood now. It's 18 degrees, so there's nobody around. And it's hard to even really get into the problem-solving process of this. And the car fixed itself. And I have to now bring it to the dealership in 2 weeks. It's running. There's just one warning light on it. And actually, what's broken on the car right now is something I don't want to fix. I really don't want to fix the auto stop start, but people in the forums are saying, get it fixed. It might be warranted. Get it done. So anyway, you got the spiral though. I was on the brink of that spiral. Oh my God. My grandparents told me not to buy new cars and to only drive old cars. And when you drive a new car, the new car might break. And then I just spent a year's pay on a car. You're crazy. And then you lost your job and now it's not even running. God doesn't want you to have nice things. And this is why you're single. I haven't even hooked up with anybody in that car. I don't know why that thought popped into my head, but you get what I'm saying. I could have been just as happy in the Volvo. The Volvo's running better than it ever was now. And now you're in this Jeep that you can you don't know if you can afford, and you don't even know if you have places to drive it to, and you're in that spiral. And like I was saying a minute before, you can't think yourself into positivity. Or I don't know if you can, but you can stop the spiral. And just because I'm here and having fun, I have an album on my phone, vision board. I haven't updated it in years, but going through some old pictures, some of the things in this vision board, and again, there's something to be said about thinking yourself into positivity. Some things won't. I have a lot of fan mail in the vision board folder. Lots of bike trips, some triathlon pictures, pictures of me hosting shows, a lot of family pictures, a couple of friend pictures, a couple of pictures of girls I dated, trying to get back into that positivity of that was a fun adventure with that girl. You know, I did a lot of cleaning it out. Fan pictures from Good Morning America, a nice note Jenny McCarthy sent me, a picture of my ex Holly, picture of a Rosa I grew at my grandfather's house. I guess a lot of nature pictures. And some of these things came into my life. And it's just funny. The one thing that caught my mind, though, was in 2019, I did a news piece for ABC World News Now overnight. Did it at Quinnipiac. We're at a nursing home near Quinnipiac. And I rented a Jeep to drive to Quinnipiac. Anyway, a picture of a Wrangler is in my vision board. Now, there's also a couple of pictures of women I've wanted to, date. That didn't happen. But again, I don't know if you can think yourself to success, but I know you can think yourself to failure. That's all I know for sure, as I know this podcast has gone way too long. The asks, ladies and gentlemen, show love where love can be shown. Yeah, that's the ask. Show love where love can be shown. And if you can't show love for me and my work, just share love to each other. Until next week, where I have a lot of guests coming up next week, at least one, because I'll have time to edit the Dino Badella show. Until next week, good night, New York.